Hello, and welcome to another amazing episode of the Climb Confident Leader podcast. And today we have an amazing guest who will be enlightening us about physical fitness. I'm your host, Rahul Karan Sharma, where we share the stories of leaders who become influencer from being invisible. So, today our guest is a lead physical therapist for the Human Performance Optimization team for the Air National Guard. An Ironman finisher, wow, Chief Challenge Officer at his company, Triumfit Challenge, and overall an amazing person. I had a pleasure to speak with him a couple of times, and again, a pleasure to introduce him. And please welcome Tyler Smith, ladies and gentlemen. Tyler, welcome to our show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, sir. I'm doing great. I know we're gonna have a, discussion about morning and evening kind of circadian rhythms, and so I'm a struggling morning person, but I'm doing well this morning so far.
Tyler, please share with us what you have been doing so far in your career, your leadership journey, so that our audience can get to know you better.
Absolutely, yeah. So again, my name is Tyler. I usually go by Ty, and I'm the founder of the Triumph Challenge, and I work, like you said, for the Air National Guard. So I got into physical therapy via the athletic and injury route, like many of my colleagues. So when about 18, there was a pivotal moment at a tryout where I had an injury and then had surgery and so on from that. So going into undergrad and all that kind of stuff, I knew pretty early on that I wanted to go into healthcare and pursue physical therapy. So that was how I wanted to serve others, obviously
Mhm.
through a skill set of learning empathy, communication, learning about human anatomy and human physiology, and helping to shape the next generation of athletes behind me, essentially. I come from a healthcare background with my, mother and father and brother all in healthcare roles as well. So that's been a big passion of mine. And then it really only wasn't until maybe 2024 when I got really lit up and passionate about what I'm now doing and want to make full time Triumph Challenge, where I'm turning fitness, philanthropy, accountability, and leadership for others as well to stay consistent towards their goals and to give back and not just pursue individualistic endeavors like a lot of my early 20s and mid 20s with doing
Mhm.
marathons and doing Ironmans and doing all these kind of checking the box things rather than building a legacy and building a company that's going to outlive me when I'm done.
That's such a noble thing you are doing, my friend. I know in today's world, mental fitness, physical fitness is very, very important. So thank you for your cooperation, and thank you for the work that you're doing for the community, Ty. Really
Mhm.
appreciate it. Um, Now you mentioned about multiple roles. So initially you had physical therapist. You working for Air National Guard, and also as a side hustle, you're preparing yourself to build your own company. Tell us on all these moments. I'm sure you were not ready from day one. You were not prepared all the time. So there have been moments where you may have felt invisible, you may have felt unseen. So tell our audience what those moments were and how did you overcome with those moments?
100%. Yeah, I think a big thing in my early career as a physical therapist was imposter syndrome and not feeling like I necessarily belonged in that room. So
Mhm.
I took on the challenge for whatever reason, I guess, to push myself. And I had seen blogs about travel physical therapy, and yeah, I got obsessed with tiny homes and RV living and all those kind of things. And I knew that was a big thing going into grad school that I might pursue. But a lot of my professors said that's not a good pursuit early on as a new grad, right? You should get 3 to 5 years in a clinic, and then at that point, go out and expand out and do something like travel physical therapy when you actually have a good clinical practice and good skill set under your belt. But maybe it's the stubbornness of who I am, and I knew, I don't have a wife, don't have a kid, I don't have any animals or anything, so this is kind of be the time to do it if I do it. So,
Mhm.
about a year into it, I graduated in 2020, so just right during COVID in May 2020, and then about 1 year later is when I embarked on the travel physical therapy journey, and I went to Redding, California, and so I bought a travel trailer, headed up about 8 hours north from where I grew up in Santa Monica. And I would say that initial transition, I was definitely feeling invisible because I was the newest staff member. I was a new grad. So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the older and senior physical therapists didn't really take my opinion into
Mm-hmm.
consideration when it came to
Yeah.
we had something called grand rounds where you talk about patients and what your treatment plans are and everything. So I noticed I would be saying stuff and it would just kind of land on, dead ears and no one would really be paying attention because I was a new grad. I was the physical therapist that had not really gone through the OCS, so the
Mm-hmm.
orthopedic certification specialty, or there's different, specialties that you can go through. And obviously, usually later in your career is when you can get those if you do residencies and take a test for it. But I was really fresh out of school, and so I think they had kind of a certain mindset about what I was there to do, and I was just kind of helping to fill the hole when they could eventually hire a permanent physical therapist. So, like
Mm-hmm.
travel nursing, travel physical therapist, you're usually working a 3-month contract at a clinic, and then that's kind of in the interim when they're looking for a permanent position. So, they kind of have this, attitude that like, oh, you're not going to be here forever, so we don't really have to take your opinion into account or
Mm-hmm.
how we should change this clinic to make it better because you're not going to stay, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think early on in that travel physical therapy world, I kind of felt, like you said, invisible in that my opinion, because I was, potentially not going to be there for more than,
Mm-hmm.
6 months, was kind of being downgraded in a
Wow.
lot of
Wow.
sense.
So, so what was some of the things going in your mind, and what kind of some mental shift you did to yourself to really seem heard and valuable for that team? Enlighten us. What was those shifts?
Yeah, I think early on I had to just take some of the brunt work in terms of taking everything that I could and kind of learning from it early. So I remember within it was the first day that I worked at that clinic, I had 8 evaluations. And so that's 8 hours of one-on-one with the patient. And usually a physical therapist might have maybe two, three evaluations in a typical day. So they really overloaded my schedule. But I
Mm-hmm.
remember that I didn't complain at all about that. I just tried to take it on in the sense that I wanted to live up to that challenge and that standard because I knew I was coming from, this kind of position of the being the newest, kid on the block, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So my biggest frame of reference was that um, again, I wasn't going to complain about the workload. I was going to do my work, show up early. I would show up early to work and be an example of still maintaining my physical fitness. Because, like we're
Mm-hmm.
going to talk about a little bit later, I think that's so intricately tied to our mental fitness as well. So,
Sure.
I would wake up at 5. I would bike to the clinic and I would work out from 5:30 to 6:45. I would shower and then I would see my first patient at 7 in the morning and I'd work until about 6 p.m. because they were 10-hour days.
Mm-hmm.
So I still was able to maintain excellent fitness throughout that 3-month stint and really lead by example in terms of I'm not going to sacrifice my own fitness for the benefit of just the clinic itself. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
still do my work and still take care of my mental and physical health because ultimately, if you're not taking care of yourself, that's when the breakdown starts. And if I just
Absolutely.
let myself go, I'm not going to be able to show up appropriately for my patients. I'm not going to set a good example of what a healthy body and healthy mind should be. And so it
Mm-hmm.
kind of would all break down from there. So when I got there to overcome that initial hurdle, I just really focused on waking up earlier, locking in my routine, never complaining about the workload that they did give me, and
Mm-hmm.
just kind of continually learn, ask questions, stay curious, and then eventually I won the respect over of the clinic manager. And once he was on my team, everybody else kind of fell in line too because they saw my work ethic.
Amazing story, and so many golden nuggets being dropped here. So, our listeners, the aspect that Tyler spoke about, never complain. And complain, and don't get me wrong, it's not that if there is a complaint, yes, complain, but
Mhm.
here we are referencing about the work. When you are a newbie,
Right,
don't just complain about too much work, because that is why you are here, that is
right.
why you are at the workplace. So don't complain about the workload. Number two is stay curious. I
Mhm.
think staying curious is so very important, specifically when you are new, because you don't know anything. You are learning. So when you show your curiosity, that's really makes a difference, because that tells the leader that you are interested, you
Hmm.
are willing to learn. And another thing which I just took away, and good for new employees in the organization, is lead by example.
Right.
Tyler led by example. I mean, maintaining his physical fitness, because if he has to stay and work long hours,
Mhm.
he cannot do it unless and until he stays fit. Amazing. And coming back on that fitness, Ty, and I know you are big into fitness. Tell us what habits have been most impactful in your health lately.
I would say lately I've been really interested in compounding effects and
Mm-hmm.
the way to get there via consistency. So
Mm-hmm.
this was late in 2024. I saw a YouTube video of a gentleman doing 1,000 Murph workouts every day, so basically in a row, and that's 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, and 1 mile run on either end. It's to honor Michael P. Murphy, he passed in 2005 in Afghanistan, a military member. And so I got really inspired by that. And I was thinking, what could I do for 1,000 days, obviously? That's just kind of how my personality works. When I see something inspirational, I take action. I think, how can I apply that little nugget to my life of consistency and
Wow.
compounding? And so
Mm-hmm.
I devised this thing of doing a sprint workout every single day. So the way
Mm-hmm.
I do it is only 5 minutes. It's three 20-second sprints with 2 minutes of rest in between each interval. And so that's been the most consistent habit I've maintained since 2024. I just finished day 225 of that, and I'm going for 1,000 unbroken in a row. And that I would just say has shaped me in a lot of senses because I've realized motivation will fade, usually in like 24 hours. Even discipline can justify falling off of good habits because if you have a justifiable excuse like you're sick or something, then you could say it's no fault to my discipline, but I don't have to do that thing today because I'm sick or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But having this public display of accountability on my Instagram that's saying I'm going to hit 1,000 consistent continual days of
Mm-hmm.
sprint workouts, then now I'm posting about this. And so I haven't missed any days, even if I'm not feeling like it, even if it's 10:30 p.m. I will load up the tripod, get the film rolling, and I will film myself doing the sprint because then I know I'm keeping myself accountable. So via this challenge, in a sense, I've learned the distinction between motivation, discipline, accountability, attention, all these kind of things that are now swirling and have become a larger part of the Triumphit challenge and something that I'm building out through the Triumphit Champions League, which is a
Wow.
high accountability fitness league for individuals that want to maintain consistency in their habits and give back at the same time through a mission-driven sense that 10% of the profits will go to give directly. So we could talk more about that project, but that project really kind of started out of this exploration of discipline, motivation,
Mm-hmm.
accountability, and a big problem in the market that, a lot of humans and my audience was going through in terms of maintaining consistency and having,
Mm-hmm.
you know, feeling that they should be working out more, but they're not, or they're new parents and they can't find the time. And I'm always about reforming your daily life to hit the MVP, so the minimal viable program that you can do, something that you can stay consistent with. And like I said,
Correct.
my
Correct.
program right now with the sprinting is 5 minutes a day, but it's max effort. And so it's those little exercise snacks is one thing they call it in the
Mm-hmm.
physical therapy world of less long duration exercise and more just high intensity, sporadic throughout the day. So if you have a 10-minute window between meetings, go run up a flight of stairs as hard as you can. Get your heart pumping for 20 or 30 seconds, and then you could take a rest and get through your next
Mm-hmm.
meeting. And you're going to notice this mental clarity that comes when you do have this kind of spike in intensity throughout the day. That's a really, great thing to do in the workplace, in the corporate world. If you're going into a stressful environment, a new meeting, you have a presentation, go run up a flight of stairs 2 or 3 times, come back, and the world seems a lot easier and calmer because
Wow.
your heart rate drops back down to baseline, and it feels
Mm-hmm.
like to your heart, it feels like you just chased the lion already. So now when you
Mm-hmm.
enter that boardroom, you've already had that experience, and you're kind of more in that parasympathetic and zoned out state rather than in this heightened,
Wow.
being chased.
That's a very different way of looking at it, right?
Hmm.
So I'm amazed with the last 2 to 3 minutes what you have shared.
Sure.
Again, loads of nuggets, listeners. I'm sure you are taking notes. But for those who are driving and
Yeah.
listening to us, here are a couple of things that Chai mentioned. Number one, in my for me was the exercise snacks. I mean, focus on those exercise as snacks. That's
Yeah.
word snacks feel good to your mind. So focus on those small intervals of doing
Right.
exercise. The other thing which I learned from Ty about you from this response of yours was if something is inspiring you, take action. Don't just have a feel good factor. Wow, it is great. Take action. Take action,
Hmm.
immediate action. That is very, very powerful. And number three, from a physical fitness, focus on that MVP, minimum viable program, right?
Yep.
It is minimum viable program.
That's exactly right. So in business, we have the MVP of minimal viable product. In the
Mhm.
fitness world, I think when I'm giving patients exercises, what's the minimum amount that I can give them that's still going to move the needle towards
Mhm.
progress, that they're not going to fall off the wagon in 2 days, right? Because I
Yeah.
want to see them do the physical therapy exercises consistently over 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12
Mhm.
weeks to see the benefit versus giving them 12 exercises that they do for 2 days and then they never do it again and get no benefit. So I'm always trying to strip everything away. It's the Bruce Lee mentality, right?
Mhm.
Minimalism, stripping all the unessential things away to the core things that they're able to do and will get them to where they want to be.
Absolutely. And since you brought up Bruce Lee, one of the quote that I learned from him was he's not afraid of the opponent who can give 1,000 kick, but I
Hmm.
think he was afraid of that one kick that he does practicing for 1,000 times.
Yep.
Right. So focus on that one thing, focus on that strong point of yours rather
Hmm.
than doing multiple things. That's another big learning. So thank you, Ty, for sharing. Now,
Right.
uh, Ty, so a lot of listeners of ours primarily come from the corporate world. That's where my network is, and I'm sure the listeners are either working or probably taking a break over lunch or coffee. So for them, because they are from the corporate world, and I've been from the corporate world as well, so the stress and burnout are often seen as a sign of commitment in our world. That if you're stressed, you're good. You're burning out. Oh wow, great, great. I mean that's somehow it's not a good thing, but yes, it gets rewarded as well. How, from your perspective, a physical fitness routine can help leaders like us actually perform better under pressure without burning out?
100%. Yeah, I think this is again, it's a little bit of a paradox because it seems backwards or it seems selfish to put yourself first, right? But really, like the oxygen mask metaphor on an airplane, you have to put your mask on first before you can assist other passengers or your
Mhm.
friends and all that. So I've always been, interested in that idea of you're only as strong as you are able to lift others up. And so you have
Mm.
to be able to carry your own burdens in your own life first to then allow others to have that space to, confide
Mm.
their problems in and to kind of progress together. So I find that physical fitness in terms of yourself is absolutely the core of everything else that radiates out positively in your world in terms of the intricate links of the mind and the body, your physical health, your mental health, your
Mhm.
social health, spiritual health, all can become, centralized in that one thing. There's another quote that I'll probably butcher at this moment, but it's,
Uh-huh.
if you are unhealthy, you have one problem, and if
Mhm.
you are healthy, you have 1,000 problems, right? So,
Mhm.
the minute you lose your health, that's the only thing that matters in your entire universe. But if you are currently healthy, then you have all these little minor fires going on
Yeah.
all the time. So, it's just the idea that we really do need to prioritize that. And it seems selfish to be saying, "Oh, I don't have an extra hour in my day or 3 days a week or whatever that MVP for you is." But it really is going to allow you to show up better in the rest of the hours of the day. The other 23 hours of the day, if you take that 1 hour for self-care in the gym or on the track or down by the beach going for a walk, whatever it is, whatever your movement of choice is. And I really think there is a movement of choice that everybody can
Yeah.
vibe with. It does not have to be a strict, 3x5 lifting sets of squat, bench, deadlift, every single day. It can be
Mm-hmm.
dance. It can
Mm-hmm.
be tai chi. It can be swimming. There's something that your body's going to enjoy relative to some kind of state of movement and dynamism. So you just have to find what that is, and you have to keep iterating until you can, stick with something. And whether that's a
Right.
group fitness class or CrossFit, because it gives you that kind of hard thing and culture built with it and community, find that thing. But there is something that your body will vibe with, and the quicker you find it, the better it is. But
Mm-hmm.
there's always going to be that thing that you can pursue. And I think that is going to just translate, like you said, into the corporate world immensely if you're able to first take care of your own burdens through physical
Mm-hmm.
fitness to then allow others and to lift others up. You kind of evolve
Absolutely.
into that mind state.
Correct. Correct. And I think I'm just one other thing that's coming to my mind, like the stress or the, as you were talking about, high heart rate. It
Hmm.
happens probably very, very rarely when you are either you are stressed or either you are not in a good state of mind. And the example that you gave, which is running one or two floors up and down,
Yeah.
really bumps up your heart rate. On a same note, I also learned that taking cold shower in the morning
Yeah.
also helps you, take out that stress, because in a single day your hormones are released, typically once or twice. So if that stress related hormone is already out, then
Yeah.
probably your whole day would be very more calmer. So thank you for sharing those inputs, Ty. Carry your burden. So if you are able to take care of yourself, then only you will be able to take care of others. So
Right.
focus on your mental health and physical health is very, very important. On that note, Ty, I would want our audience to know about your passion project. I know you have a full-time job, but still you are
Yeah.
passionate about the Triumfit Challenge, the company that you formed, the amazing work you're doing for the community. Help us. What is it all about? How our listeners can join the challenge? How they can connect with you and work with you?
100%. So, yes, this has been my huge obsession as of 2024. And it all started with my own kind of, you know, hero's journey of my progression in fitness and starting from the vanity aspect of I just want to train to have, a six pack and all these kind of things to look good in the mirror. And not to say that's always, a bad thing. There's a time for that potentially if that's motivating. But that's where I started. And obviously in my early 20s. And then as I progressed, I wanted to chase more performance goals in terms of I want to do a marathon, I want to do an Ironman, all these physical feat, checklist items. And then now I'm starting to see that I'm evolving into what I call my next development of physical
Mm,
fitness, which is about pursuing purpose. So at first
mm,
it's pursuing aesthetics, then it's
mm,
pursuing performance, and now I'm chasing purpose with my fitness. And how can I tie my two passions of fitness and philanthropy into one company? And that has
mm,
become the Triumph Challenge. And it all started when I burned out in 2023 trying to do a 5-minute mile and a 315-pound front squat on the same day. I trained for 12 weeks to do this at the end of 2023. I was just dedicating my entire life to this goal and losing out on relationships and just prioritizing myself to the detriment of everything else. And I did not hit the goal in the terms of the mile time, but I hit the squat and I felt hollow. Every time I hit what I think is the pinnacle, even with the Ironman, there's always kind of that next day depression where it's like, okay, well, now what do I do? Right.
mm,
And so I had that realization of if I just keep pursuing these individual things, when I die, there's going to be no lasting legacy. No one's going to be at my funeral. Nobody's going to give a shit what my mile time was in the grand scheme of things. And so then I had this curiosity, that word we talked about earlier, curiosity about how can I pursue something larger than myself and be building community and building leaders behind me.
mm,
And so it started with an exploration of the federal holidays because I work for the military, so I get all the federal holidays off in terms of Martin Luther King Day. And so everything from MLK to Veterans Day, I re-examined the history of those days and who died to get us that day of rest. What was their story that we might have just glossed over because we take it for granted at this point in the US. Oh, okay, Labor Day, I just get to hang out, or MLK, what exactly did he do? So I re-examined the history behind these historical figures,
mm,
and then it became a historical understanding. I tied it to some physical challenge, I did some kind of financial donation and just had this broader understanding of what all this meant. And
Wow.
so just I'll give a couple examples of what Triumphit is about and where this started. And then you can obviously learn more on the website. But the first two that I'll talk about is Martin Luther King Jr., who in 1965 did a Selma to Montgomery march. It was 54 miles. He did it over 5 days to help promote the Voting Rights Act, allowing blacks to vote. And I'm biracial. My dad is black, my mom is white. So I've kind of grown up in this dichotomy of, the white
Mhm.
and black side of me and the duality of that character. And so I wanted to honor Martin Luther King and what he did. So for Triumph Challenge, what I do is I do a 54-mile run slash walk in 54 hours to honor, Dr. Martin
Mm.
Luther King. So
Wow.
that's the Selma to Montgomery challenge. That's always around MLK Day. And then the next one that I do is Cesar Chavez Day. And apparently, if you want to leave a legacy in history, you should march long distances because
Mhm.
Cesar Chavez did a 280-mile march from Delano to Sacramento, California, advocating for farm workers' rights and to have toilets in the fields and to get unionized workers from the, Filipino and Mexican immigrants to get better working conditions.
Mm.
And so, in honor of Cesar Chavez doing that 280-mile march, I do a 2.8-mile farmer's carry, which is where you're holding weights in either hand and you're walking to kind of symbolize that strength and unity of the farm workers in the 60s as well. And
Ah.
so those are two of the unique challenges that I've created. And so
Mm.
every major holiday becomes this exploration of history and physicality and community and just giving back because after that, you basically buy an entry ticket to do the challenge. You could do it virtually wherever in whatever city you're in, or I do it in Tacoma, Washington, where I live. People buy an entry ticket, we show up, we do it together, and then I donate 50% of the profits to some relevant organization. So
Nice.
Martin Luther King was the co-president of Southern Christian Leadership Conference, so I donated to that organization. I donated to farmworkersjustice.org for Cesar Chavez. And then this next one coming up is a Juneteenth tribute. So the
Hmm.
average runaway slave would walk 10 to 20 miles on the Underground Railroad daily towards their freedom. And this was obviously started in large part by Harriet Tubman, or she was one of the most famous conductors of the Underground Railroad. So every mile I walk during that challenge, I walk either 9 miles for Silver Division or 19 miles for the Gold Division Triumphant Challenge. And after every mile, I relay some historical fact about Harriet Tubman or the Underground Railroad. And
Wow.
so, just by coincidence, I learned that Harriet Tubman made 19 trips back to the South in order to save people and to bring them up to the North towards liberty. And she saved over 300 people in her life, never lost a single passenger. And so
Wow.
19 journeys. And
Hmm.
so I think that's a significant thing because Juneteenth is June 19th. She made
United.
19 journeys to the South, and the average slave would walk 10 to 20 miles. So for that upper division, I do 19 miles of walking, and the
Mm.
first and last mile has to be barefoot. And then the profits, half of the profits will go to freetheslaves.net, who's working to stop modern slavery, which is still happening all across the world. So
Wow.
those are three of the challenges that I've created. There's seven
Nice.
like that,
Hmm.
essentially. And then the next play that I'm trying to get launched now is now cohorts. So cohorts
Mm.
of people that want to have the same mission-driven fitness mindset that I'm starting with Triumphant Challenge, but that want to apply it more to their personal development. So their own fitness goals, whether they're
Hmm.
performance or whatever they, I try to encourage people to have performance goals essentially, because that's what I found benefited from me in terms of like, entering a 5K race or completing a certain thing, right? Where they have not just, I want to lose 5 pounds. If you want
Mm.
to lose 5 pounds, that's great. I'm not maybe the best person for that. There's a six pack shortcut.org somewhere, whatever.com. There's millions of programs online that can sell you that. I don't really care about what you weigh. I don't think anybody necessarily should unless it's impacting your health at a certain degree. So for Triumphit, I want people to set these 90-day goals, and then
Hmm.
it's a high accountability league where essentially there's a Discord chat, there's a group Zoom call, and then there's one-on-one coaching with me, depending on the tier that you select. So
Mm.
there's a cohort of 30 individuals and the founding members. I'm launching July 1st. And so we all pick a 90-day goal. We all keep each other accountable. You have a daily check-in with your stats and to see if you're hitting over 85%, because I'm not here to chase perfection. I'm here to chase consistency. And so
Mm-hmm.
85 is kind of the benchmark for that. And I always want to have like a stakes in that. So like if you don't succeed, what happens, right? So
Mm-hmm.
my goal is going to be around, I think, a sub 19-minute 5K. And then
Mm-hmm.
if I succeed at that goal, I'm going to donate $100 or more to givedirectly.org, another mission-driven organization trying to combat global poverty. And if I fail, the stakes and the negative incentive for that is that I'll have to buy, I think it's going to be 100 cigarettes or something, and I
Uh-huh.
have to smoke a cigarette on camera or something like that I really would never do based on my
Mm-hmm.
fitness mindset. And then I'll probably return the unused cigarette packs and donate the money from that. But I'd have to smoke a cigarette on camera or something, right? So that's the
Mm-hmm.
negative incentive. So I kind of want to create this like gamified version of fitness where
Mm-hmm.
there's real stakes at at
Wow.
play here with either donating to charity or donating to your worst enemy in terms of
Got it.
organizations,
Got it.
right? So that's the
Great.
Champions League, and I really want the Triumfit Champions League to become like my leadership development cohort, like essentially what you're doing here, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to do that via affiliates. So the people that enter the Champions League can then have an affiliate code from Triumph Challenge to get people to sign up for the charity challenges that I do as well. And so they
Mm-hmm.
would get a percentage of those ticket sales so that way they can promote these little like Triumphant clubs all across the world essentially, or specifically in the US, I guess, because I've written the challenges to be related to the holidays in the United States. But one day I'd like it to be global and I could always modify. But
Yep.
the idea with the Champions League is there's these 30 people in this fitness accountability league together that are all promoting the triumphant mission of fitness and philanthropy. And they're creating these little hubs where people sign up for these challenges that I've created, and they're all doing these together across the
Mm-hmm.
United States. And they can earn, offset their membership cost via affiliates and getting people to sign up for the charity challenges. So
Wow.
that's kind of the ultimate vision of what I've got going on with the Triumph
Awesome.
Challenge and the Champions League. One is a high impact, mission driven accountability fitness league, and one is built around 7 charity challenges per year. And together, I think they can help make this more of a longer term and broader movement than just what I can do. Because a lot of leadership is not just being a leader yourself. I'm
Mm-hmm.
learning through the book Get Together. It's a really
Mm-hmm.
great book that true leadership is empowering leaders behind you to take,
Yep.
because if you get hit by a bus and your company is done, then you're not a real leader. You haven't
Mm-hmm.
trained the people around you to take the torch and to go to the next destination, right? So I'm trying to empower the next generation of leaders to follow the Champions League and to then get the charity challenges to
Absolutely.
take off. That
Absolutely.
was a long answer, and I apologize.
No, I mean, I think great work that you have been doing, my friend. It's definitely would be helpful for many of us, and I'm sure our corporates can also join hands with you for from the charity perspective as well as improving the physical and mental fitness of their team members. So, thank you, man. Thank you. Now, we are moving to our fun round, Chai, where we will be asking 5 questions, fun questions.
Yeah.
I don't want you to think too much about before answering. So, whatever comes to your mind, just give your answers, okay?
Okay.
So the first one coming to you, uh, a quotation you live by.
Quotation I live by. I do love this question for myself, and I love asking it to others. But the quote that I have in an artistic style on my back is a quote from Lao Tzu. He who conquers others is strong. He who conquers himself is mighty. So the idea that
Wow.
conquering yourself is actually the hardest thing in the world, and
Absolutely.
it's not about strength
Wow.
of conquering others, but conquering yourself.
Amazing. Your go-to food you can eat anytime, anywhere.
This is a toss-up. I would say if I see sweet potato fries on the menu, I'm pretty much ordering that every single time, no matter what. But I can also eat breakfast any time of the day. So I don't make them very often, but I'll eat French toast. I could eat French toast any time of the day either. So those sweet potato fries, French toast.
Awesome. Awesome. Um, I know you answered it earlier, but still, since we are here on this round, are you a morning person or a night owl?
Yep. So yeah, it was 7 when we started here. So I'm an optimistic morning person in the sense that I set my alarm for 5 every day. And about half the time, I turn it back off and I go to sleep for about another 30 minutes or so, wake up 5:30 or 6. So I'm optimistic the night before, and then when reality hits and I'm exhausted in that morning, it doesn't always work out. But I'm trying. I'm just not really wired that way, and it's tough because the world is built around morning people.
Awesome. What's one leadership skill you wish someone had taught you earlier?
This is great. I think just starting, and I think that imperfect is always better than unfinished. So just
Hmm.
starting wherever you are, you're going to iterate and make it so much better as you go. But the fear of making it perfect before you start has probably killed so many dreams that it's sad to even think about. So if someone would have
Absolutely.
just told me, don't worry about having the perfect website and whatever, Tyler. Just literally start the thing and start going and make momentum because motion creates momentum. And I really believe that as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as I started this podcast, Chai, I didn't have any experience as a host,
Right.
and I was thinking that okay, what kind of preparation I need to do, and I need to have this, have that. But then I said, I mean, let me start. I will
Yeah.
learn on the way. I'm not the perfect host, but I'm learning. I'm enjoying the conversation. I'm
Yeah.
able to share my insights, and that's what matters. It does not matter about my lighting, about my background, about my
Right.
English verbiage, or about my jargons. What matters is the episode is happening, two people are talking, and enlightening global audience. That's what matters.
That's what saved me early in my career in healthcare and physical therapy too, because when you're a new grad, you have a lot of book knowledge, but you don't always have all the clinical knowledge yet, obviously. And I did
Hmm.
have a professor that I still remember this quote. She said, "They don't care what you know, they want to know how much you care." And if you
Hmm.
just focus on how much you're able to care for that patient. It's okay that you don't know the perfect exercise or the perfect manual therapy to fix their knee pain or whatever it is. They just want to know how much you care and that you're listening to them. And so, having this discussion with you now, I can tell you're already a step above a lot of podcast hosts because you're very observant and you're listening and you write down stuff and you reiterate the things that I've said. And so I could tell just by the way you listen that
Hmm.
you don't need to have everything perfect because as long as you're listening actively, you're going to
Hmm.
be fine as a podcast host, right? So that's the biggest thing is we're having a
Thank you,
conversation.
man. Thank you for the feedback. And
Yeah.
another golden nugget on this response is it's not about how much you know, it's about how much you care.
Yeah.
Whether in his case it was care about the patient, and
Right.
probably in your case it would be care of your employees, care of your people, care of your
Right.
team member, care of your family. How much you care is very, very important. Amazing. The last one coming your way, my friend, is if your career were a Netflix series, what would be the title of season one be?
Season one. I hope there would be a lot of seasons eventually. I'd be curious. Hopefully there's 10 or more, but they don't get canceled. But season one, I would probably title it No Man's an Island. So
No Man's an Island.
No
Wow.
Man's an Island. We need other people to build movements. We need other people to feed off of. Life is so much better with other people in it. And that's what I'm realizing when it comes to my own journey and building things is that if you can add value to people's lives and bring them along for the journey, that's better than the destination, you know.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, we have come to end of our episode. It has been amazing last 30 to 40 minutes, my friend. Lots of amazing things you have shared with our listeners. In the essence of time, I will just want to summarize some my learning. I mean that I may not be able to cover all, but just few things which I think matter most for all of us. Number one, specifically when you are new to the job, when you are new to any role, do not complain. Do not complain because you signed up for it was you who decided to take up that job, take up that position. So do not complain about the work coming to you. That is number one. Number two, I learned about is that it's all about the compounding effect. You can't just do things here and there. It will come to you over a period of time. You cannot wait for just instant result. If you are getting an instant result, that may not last. Whether it is losing weight overnight, it will not last long. It is more about the compounding effect. Do keep doing things over and over again, and that the compounding effect will make a difference. Another aspect around the physical fitness, Ty shared with us about MVP. You know yourself well. You know what is a minimal viable program for you. Do that. Don't think that my friend is doing 20 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour. I need to do that. If you can do 2 minutes, 5 minutes, that's okay. So you know yourself well. And I think towards the end, the another final thing is it's not about how much you know. It's all about how much you care. So with that said, with so much of golden nuggets, Ty, it's been utmost pleasure for us to have you on our show. I'm sure that our listeners will focus on their physical fitness, mental fitness, and they will definitely check out your website, Triumphant Challenge, and hopefully they will join. So thank you for amazing work you're doing. Appreciate it. Have an amazing rest of the day, my friend.
I appreciate you. Thank you, Raul.